Hi everyone, welcome to this Yin and Yang class that we're going to be focusing on the second chakra. So if you've got a couple of blocks or a couple of blankets, it'll be good to have those handy, a bolster, anything you have. And the way we're going to do things a little bit differently, instead of having like the active part of class and then a few yin postures, we're sort of going to go between the yin and the yang, the more passive, relaxed, and the active and movement. So we'll start with a yin pose on our backs we'll basically start, on our backs, knees bent. And you may want a blanket or a pillow for your head. And then have whatever other props you're going to prop your knees up, have those available. Okay. So before we go into the yin, we're going to do a little bit of movement. So your knees will be bent here. And first I invite you to just tilt your pelvis. And those of you that have got sore necks, you might add your head into this too. So for example, you can inhale, lift your low back off the floor without lifting your hips, and then flatten your low back on your exhale. And when you flatten your low back, you can give your neck a little stretch by holding around your head and pulling your chin towards your chest. And as you inhale, flatten your elbows down as you lift your low back. And you can even turn a little bit towards each side, you're getting a little stretch on each side of your neck. And this is a really therapeutic movement for your pelvis and low back. Okay, good. Then release your head down. And now we're going to go circles. So start to lean all your weight into your right hip, and your left hip lifts up a little bit. Then tuck your tailbone under so your back starts to flatten. Both hips are down as you lean your weight into your left hip. So you can imagine that you're drawing, it's like you're trying to touch every number on a clock. You're laying on a clock. Your low back is like the 6 o'clock. And when your tailbone's pressing down, that's like the 12 o'clock of the clock. So start to, squeeze into your deep core muscles, your pelvic floor, tune into your pelvic floor, and see if you could imagine you're breathing into your pelvic floor, pubic bone, sacrum area. See this swirling orange color. And then change your direction, but see the color, if you can coordinate this way, because we're technically going counterclockwise probably now, but see the color moving clockwise. And notice where it might be a little bit sore in your hips or your pelvis. And then go ahead and come back to, we're going to come to the pelvic tilts again, but we're going to really add the breath. So on your next inhale, press your tailbone down to lift as much of your back as you can. Like I even push into my shoulders to lift the space between my shoulder blades. Okay, and then as you exhale, flatten between your shoulder blades, your middle back, all the way down. Inhale, tilt and lift and open. Exhale, roll down and soften. Couple more breaths. Inhale, tilt, so as much of your back lifts up without lifting your hips. And then exhale, roll down. And see if you can really let it be kind of a roll. So on the inhale, it goes from your low back to your upper back, that lift. And exhale, upper back to lower back. Really connect with this with your breath for 3 more slow breaths. Might take a little bit to get the hang of it. At the top, you might add an extra inhale. Squeeze your pelvic floor so you can feel into this orange energy at the sacral chakra. And then exhale, distribute this orange energy into your body. This connects us to the element of water, to flow. Great. And then from here, we'll take the feet together, and here's our, before we go, I think we'll do the yin, and then we'll add a little more hip movement. But for now, grab your pillows or blankets or blocks, whatever you have, and place them under your knees, under your, thigh, knee area. And you may want to lift your arms just to open your heart a little bit more. If you happen to have a bolster, you can definitely lay your back on that prop or bolster. But to keep it simple, you could just stay as you are in your back and just add this opening to your knees. Okay. So I'm going to put the timer on. And we're going to hold this pose for 3 minutes, which is sort of around the minimum of a yin pose. All right. So find the position of your hands that feels comfortable. If you feel any strain in your inner thighs or your pelvis, then just take the support a little bit higher or scooch it in closer toward your hips. And just start to let your body sink into the floor. And you could just imagine there's a little air hole at your pubic bone or at your the front of your pelvic floor, whichever seems more accurate for you of where this chakra is. As you breathe in, again, see that orange clear color spinning clockwise. And as you breathe out, maybe it gets brighter, bigger. Just notice what feels right. Stay with that a few breaths as you tune in to how balanced or imbalanced this chakra feels. Just really intuitively tuning into this. And something you can tune into is how your jaw feels. Sometimes our jaw can just habitually tense up, and the more we can relax our jaw, the more the pelvic floor can relax, and allow your pelvic floor to open for a moment. Just releasing any tension here. And you can stay with the visualization, or maybe you just really feel into your breathing. So now there's this feeling of your breath going down to your pelvic floor and expanding into your hips, expanding into your belly and low back, rib cage in all directions, upper chest, upper back, all the way to your throat, and back down again. So that you're getting into a wave-like motion in your breath. And we are at the in our last minute, so you might find that you can maybe scooch your supports a little further away so you get more opening in the hips, or you could adjust your arm position to go deeper there as well. So again, come back to your wave, pelvic floor, abdomen, ribs, chest, and exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen, pelvic floor. Relaxing jaw, relaxing your pelvic floor. Beautiful. Big, full breath in, full breath out. We're going right back to yang. So we're going to engage the muscles here. So you'll push your feet together. You might have to use your hands the first time just to get the hang of it. Make sure it's not too straining. Bring your knees to touch at the top. It's like butterfly. If this is butterfly pose, this is butterfly flapping its wings. So let your knees go down. And maybe if it's too much, just don't go all the way down and then back up. And notice, would it be helpful to put your hands somewhere, maybe on your belly, to notice just a slightest deep core engagement there. Or maybe on your hip crease area. And just play with that a few more rounds. And as you're doing this, notice what tilt of your pelvis is most helpful. Felt like I swallowed a frog there. Not sure what happened. As you're moving your knees up and down, does it feel better to flatten your low back or to have a tiny bit of space between your low back and the floor? We'll be practicing really that way with a lot of awareness in our pelvis. Great. The next time your knees come up, widen your feet and just allow this counter pose for a moment. Totally relax. Windshield wiper, so let your knees just rock side to side. If you want to add the shoulders to this, you can hold your elbows and you can let your arms move away from your knees. And then how does it feel comfortable for your neck? Letting your head go the way of your arms or go the way of your knees? Coordinate your breath. Your breath might be a little more rhythmic now, a little faster. Keep going, or maybe you settle in for a couple breaths on each side. You can adjust your arms now, so maybe the top arm is straight and the bottom hand is just encouraging that little shoulder stretch. If you want, you can, when you're ready, change directions. Hold for a few breaths. Okay, great. And then hug your knees in to give your low back a little bit of love, and move however you like, side to side or circles. If you want more challenge, you can add some abdominal strengthening by having your knees 90-degree angles above your hips, arms out, and let your knees go to a certain degree towards the floor, maybe halfway, and then use your abdominals to bring them back up. Coordinate your breath. Kind of going back and forth. Great. And then bring your feet back down. Really feel each foot rooting down. And then adding on to the breath the pelvic tilts that we did before. So tuck your tailbone and lift your hips for a moving bridge. You can lift your arms. Oh, and if, again, I like to give the neck option. So if you want to open your neck, just lift one arm and then your head can go away from your arm that's up. So if you have your left arm up, turn your head to the right. And then as you lower down, turn your head to center. If you're doing the neck opener, lift your right arm, turn your head left and back to center. And play with that rolling up, rolling down. And then maybe try a couple where you keep everything a little more engaged. So find that tilt of your pelvis that helps you engage your core in a gentle way and lift everything on your inhale. Maybe the arms don't go up as far, and then place everything down slowly. It's a little less of a roll. So try one or two more of those. Good. And then happy baby. And we won't hold this one too long. And if you'd like, you can just enjoy some movement. Maybe you straighten one leg at a time. You can be in the more yang version of this pose by grabbing your feet and pulling down, like you're feeling the weight of your shoulders dropping your knees out and down. And then push your feet into your hands and maybe add that rock back and forth. Good. Stay here a moment. Really connecting to your breath. You can modify or adjust this by bringing your feet together. It's like a diamond pose in the legs. Your hips might lift off the floor a bit. And then finish off with opening one leg to the side and then the other. Okay. All right, next one. Start with your feet on your mat. Place your right ankle on your left knee and hold behind your left leg. Pull back. And if you want more of the yin, just hang out here or place your foot on something, a block, scooch it against a wall or a couch, and you could be more just in the yin. If you want, again, the yang, a little more active, inhale as your left leg straightens. You might point your foot to stretch the front of your ankle. And then on your next exhale, bend and flex. So bend your knee and flex your foot. Try that. 2 more if you're doing the movement. Inhale, straighten and point. And as you exhale and flex your foot, pull with your hands, pull your leg towards you. Good. Now let's try the opposite. On your next exhale, straighten your leg, flex your foot. Inhale, point your foot, bend your knee. Exhale, straighten and flex. Inhale, bend and point. One more time. And then pull your leg in again. If you want more, lift your head towards your foot. Squeeze it. Push your ankle against your knee. Very active pose even though we're laying down. Release your head down. And then find your favorite twist in the world to your left. So if you want something more intense, cross your legs right over left. It's called twisted root twist. Or you can do a more hip opening twist by keeping your right ankle on your left knee. Scoot your hips to the right and settle into whichever one would feel good to you. You could even have your top knee bent and your bottom leg straight for a really nice classical twist. We're going to be here a bit, so take your time. I would probably do this version of the twist if you're doing the top knee bent. I would probably do that twist a little more yang style with the abdominals engaged. And then just see if you can find a little bit of softness wherever you are. Inhale, center. We'll just do a quick counter twist. So you might even have your knees bent and together, and slowly with strength lower them to your right and just settle in here a moment. Find your twist. Maybe your head moves away from your knees. And then push into your arms. Use your abdominal strength maybe to come back to the middle. Left ankle on your right knee. Either do it just really relaxed style, yin style, resting your foot on something. You're going to hang out here. If you want more movement, hold behind your leg. We're going to practice our coordination. On your next inhale, straighten your leg, point your foot. Maybe pause this first round a little longer, and then on your next exhale, bend your knee, flex your foot. Inhale, straighten and point. Exhale, bend and flex. Couple more, move through that. This is such a great lubrication for your ankle and knee joints. Meanwhile, pull with your hands. This kind of lying down practice, you might yawn sometimes. That's good. You're releasing tension. And then you can, next time you exhale, straighten your leg and flex your foot. A little calf stretch there. And then inhale, bend your knee, point your foot. Exhale, straighten and flex. Inhale, bend and point. Do a couple more, a few more. Good. And then next time your knee is bent, pull with your hands, press your knee away, maybe lift your head, feel some intensity. Slowly lower your head. Unwind, get ready for your twist. So you might not unwind yet. Keep this shape, come all the way down, or cross your left leg over the right, or top knee, and a block might be helpful for this one. Top knee can be supported on something. Top knee bent, bottom leg straight. So whatever twist you did before, have a little bit of engagement in your belly and just settle into this twist. You might adjust your head to the opposite way of your knee, of your top leg. And this could be a nice time to come into your ocean breath, Ujjayi breath. As you again soften your jaw, soften your pelvic floor. From your belly, come to center. Counter twist, you could bend both knees, use your arms, root down, let your knees go to your left and look maybe to the right. Or move your head a little bit side to side. Find your active twist a moment, moving your shoulder away from your top hip. And then hug your knees in a moment. Roll out your ankles and wrists and roll to one side and come up. Or here's a fun movement if you want to try it. So you hold your ankles, your legs are in that diamond shape we did earlier. Inhale, roll back. However you want to breathe, really. When you come up, you might add a seated butterfly pose. And if that's too much back and forth, just perhaps stay in this seated pose. If the rocking and rolling feels good, maybe do a couple more. All right. When you've had enough rocking and rolling, come up, inhale deep. Stay up or deep in your pose if you're in the pose. Lean back, lift your knees, add just a little bit of core work. So you can even just hover your feet. Maybe you open up to one side, not overdoing it. Come back to center, open to the other side. You could even sandwich your, I'm finding this one feels good. I squeeze my arm inside my knees, the front arm. And that gives more stabilization. Then roll your shoulders back. You can hold your knees or not. Just pause here. Feel that feeling of your pelvis lining up with your spine lifting out of your pelvis in a way that's very anatomically correct or aligned for you. And then you can cross your legs or swing your legs to one side. Come on back to a hands and knees. All right. Move in whatever way feels good in cat-cow. Back and forth, circles. Okay, just for fun, let's add another little bit of core. Tuck your toes. Find a neutral position in your shoulders, so you don't want anything dropping too much. Push into the floor, push your arms together, and then hover your knees like 2 inches for 3, 2, 1. Then rock yourself back and forth and rock back to down dog. First with your knees bent, really press into your hands, ground down. And then play with pushing your feet like you're pushing them into 2 walls on either side of you. Lift your tailbone high. Then you can straighten one leg at a time. So we're just making room for the pelvis. Great. Then scoot your feet a bit closer if that's helpful. Keep your hips square, right leg up and back, bend your knee, roll open. Make any movements. And then we're going to step right foot between the hands. So find a smooth transition. You might come up to your right fingertips and step. This sequence you may want blocks. Long, low lunge. So we're still in that yang type of pose here. So you can stay with this, or you might enjoy movement back and forth. So find what one feels good. Good. Now, I invite you to just check into what you're needing here before we switch into the lunges that we're going to hold and go into the Yin Style Lunges. So option 1 would be lift your back knee and lower your back heel, but maybe have a shorter stance for a warrior 1. This could feel really good in the hips. Or you have your back heel up, more of a high lunge style. And then we're going to start with the back knee bent, whichever pose you're in, so watch your balance. And tilt your pelvis a little back and forth and to find that angle that feels really good. Once you find your angle, maybe you play with bending your back. It's kind of hard to bend your back knee if you're in the warrior 1. I forgot to tell you about that. But once you find what feels good, stay there. And then what would feel good with your arms? Maybe you lift them. And just settle in a moment. Okay, we're going to add eagle arms. So bring your right arm on top. Squeeze and drop your shoulders once or twice. And then lift your hands. See if you can clasp your palm or your thumb. And then we're going to step forwards to chair pose. And if you happen to have a block like I do, I like to just get that block over on the right side. Bend your knees, lift your left leg, and cross on over. Using your block as a little kickstand can be really nice. Then squeeze your inner thighs, drop your pelvis, and lift your elbows. Take a couple breaths. Here's your options. Option 1, find another balancing pose, maybe an airplane. Option 2, a little more stretchy. Your foot comes down to the mat, left foot outside right foot, and just find a little forward fold for a moment. And you can eventually come to this if you are doing the balancing pose, or you can do a regular forward fold without the crossing of your legs. If you're still in the leg cross, you can walk your blocks or your hands, let's see what side, to the left for a little bit more intensity. Let most of your weight come into your right foot. Good. Then unwind. To unwind, we'll step back to our low lunge. Go ahead and place your hands on your mat for plank or half plank, lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra, low or high. Exhale back, child's pose, or maybe the down dog again. It might feel really good to add a wide knee child's pose. And just melt and enjoy here. And then if you are on your hands and knees or in child's pose, come to your hands and knees. Lift your knees just a couple inches off the floor. Rock a little bit back and forth to lift your hips up and back. And then eventually straighten one leg at a time. Feet a little closer. Swing your left leg up, roll open. Allow a little dropping of your right heel, roll out your left ankle if you'd like. And then eventually firm your belly, look forwards, maybe lighter, get lighter in the left hand to step forwards. You could get your blocks, long, low lunge, pause here. Find a bit of strength, like you're hugging left foot to right foot. You can rock back and forth with your breath. So the second chakra is the home of our emotions. It's a home of our sense of sensing our place in the world, our place even within our body. That's what this chakra means in Sanskrit. Svadhisthana means home of the sacred or one's own place. It's like, I think of this is a chakra that connects you to your body being like a temple. Find your warrior one with the back heel down, or even if you usually would do a warrior one, maybe you play a little bit with lifting your back heel and bending your back knee just for a moment to find your pelvic tilt. And then once you have that, you can lower your heel. Find that tilt. What tilt? Make sure there's no pain anywhere, not any over tightness. And then you can lift your arms. Maybe straighten your leg or keep it bent. And just take a moment here, settle in. Can you tune into the flow of your breath, even though you're in a stable pose? By tuning into your breath, you're tuning into that nature of things always changing. Eagle arms when you're ready. Left arm on top this time. Give your shoulders a squeeze or two. Connect your hands, and then you might check that your block is over to the left at the low or medium height, and either step to chair just to get your bearings or go right into it. Right leg over left. Find that positioning of your block if you're using the block. And then bend your knees enough that you can make sure there's no little gaps. You're squeezing from knees to hips. Maybe lift your elbows. Swing back to airplane or whatever balancing pose you did. Or lower your right foot to the floor. Your foot can be a little more in line with your left foot. Right foot and left foot can line up, or scoot your right foot back a little bit. You could use the block to help you here as you do this twisted root forward fold. I'm way tighter for some reason on this side. And then if you did the little side variation, walk your hands or your block over to the right side. Whatever gives you a little more opening. Allow a sense of release in your outer left hip. Good. When you are feeling about like you've had enough, swing back to your lunge. Go through your flow, whatever kind of flow you want to do. What would feel good? I In the second chakra focus, I like to do knees, chest, chin. So chest and chin dip down, hips stay up. You stay there, and then you tuck your tailbone and just sort of flow your belly down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, child's pose or down dog. Great. So this next Yin lunge sequence, it will feel a little bit yang because there's some intensity to this sequence, but I invite you to stay with it and keep coming back to your breath. So however you want to get your right foot forwards, do that first. We're in this sort of a low lunge, back knee down. You'll want to pad your back knee for this sequence. Take a moment here. If you want more, walk your hands up, nice and slowly. You can just have your hands on your front leg. We'll do each variation at least a minute. Maybe there'll be one variation we do a little longer. And you can do that same thing where you sort of tilt your pelvis until you find that stable angle, and then just breathe here. Remember our grounding from the first chakra focus last week, where you feel what's touching the floor. That really helps you feel stable. And then it's not so yin, but it might feel good to lift an arm, like your left arm. I like to lean to the right a little bit. And really breathe into the ribs here. The psoas muscle connects way back into the spine area. So your ribs, breathing fully is helpful to open that area. Okay, good. And then release your hands down. You may need to just give your knee a little break and lift it. Then bring both hands inside your foot. Okay, so one option you could do is stay here or come to your elbows. Maybe put blocks under your elbows. And then depending on whether you have your knee close to your shoulders, will feel different than if you open up to the outer edge of your foot and open your knee out. So those will be two very different postures, so find what feels good. And again, we don't want to just kind of drop our weight down completely, because that might be unhealthy for some of the bones and ligaments. So there might have to be a little bit of muscular energy just to keep you from overstretching. And then the last variation, you can find a twist. So you might come back to straight arms. And then your right hand, whether your knee is opened up or straight up, you can have your right hand on your right knee and find a twist here. I personally like to have my left forearm down for this one. You might want to have your neck relaxed. So find which one of those works for you. You could, if you really want to, you could lift your arm or wind it back behind you. Just a tiny bit more here. Okay. And then I always love doing a little counter stretch. So you could walk your foot back to the middle and shift your hips back a moment, back to a hamstring opening. And then when you feel complete, go through the flow, or since we're in the Yin sequence, it might feel just really lovely to either sit or do a child's pose between sides. Beautiful. When you're ready, step your left foot forward. So we're going to do that lovely sequence on the other side. Find your, oh, before we come up, let's just pause in the low lunge, just a moment. When you're ready, you can come upright. Press your hands into your knee, or maybe roll your shoulders back. Tilt your pelvis. Okay, just really feel, okay, what feels best here? Stay with that. Add whatever you want to do. Your hands can stay on your leg, or you can lift your right arm. Whatever you do, focus on breathing fully, especially into the rib cage here. Yeah, if you haven't already, you could add your little side bend. Slowly start to bring your hands inside your foot. Remember, knee hugging in, knee opening out, or elbows down. And it'll feel really different. Right now I have my hips kind of backwards. It'll feel very different if you let your hips drop down. But again, I would rather you have a little bit of muscle engagement, kind of like keeping your back knee kind of squeezing towards your front foot so that you're not just hanging in the hip sockets, which is not the most healthy thing in the world for your hips. You could let your head hang if that's comfortable. And the last option is the twist. Right hand down, left hand on your left leg with your knee open up or your foot down. I like the knee opened up version. And you could also have your forearm down on a prop. And if you really want, you could do something with your left arm. So a bit longer, try to stay steady in your twist. Slowly add your counter pose, whatever you did before. Your foot comes in the middle, your hips go backwards. Great. Release your legs back to child's pose or a seat. Have this little pause, this moment to go inwards. So options next, so one more hip opener. If you found the window stretch to be great, you might go ahead and sit yourself close to a wall or something. So I have this shelf in front. I put my right ankle on my left knee, and this is so great to just use the wall. Or you can do pigeon pose, or you can do double pigeon. So you could have your left knee bent, right. I lean back for this because you usually are really tight in the beginning and then you open up. So right ankle on left knee. And see how I'm super tight at first, and then I'm going to just line up my foot over my knee over my foot, and then push your, at first will be yang, so we'll push Hands into balls of feet. And just work with that a moment. And then if you can just go into the yin and just see if you can soften past the muscular tension a little bit. And if you need to keep that muscular work going, then so be it. If you're able to move into the yin and loosen and soften some of the gripping. Just do whichever version is going to be better for you. If you do find that your knee doesn't go down and this pose just isn't working for you, you could do cross-legged, right leg in front. That one is great for those of us who have like super tight hips. That one you'll still probably feel a lot in the back of your hips, just less intensity. Okay, just a little bit longer. Soften your jaw to soften your pelvic floor. Feel the flow of your breath in your body. When you've had enough, come on up. Whew, what an intense one that is. You may want a windshield wiper. Find what you need. In those deep, intense postures, even though we're not really working out or anything, I almost feel like an adrenaline rush because it's so intense. I don't know if you all feel the same there. Yeah, anything you need to do or shake out. And then let's do the other side, whichever one you did. The window stretch, the pigeon, the double pigeon, the cross-legged, left leg comes in front this time, or left leg's in top if you're in double pigeon. I also have heard this one called fire log pose, Agni Stambhasana, which I like to think of it as a very fiery pose. So if you're doing double pigeon, push your thumbs or your hands into the balls of your feet, and that's just going to help you settle in. And do that as much as you need to. Feet to hands, hands to feet. Keep your feet flexed, and then you try to just soften into the effortless part of it. And we'll stay for a couple minutes here. And this is one of those postures that I don't ever do this one as my home practice. I only do this one when I'm with all of you, when I'm teaching, because it's one of those ones that takes a level of, it's like I don't get up early unless I have to. It's the same kind of thing. But something happens when we do things that are not easy for us. As long as we're taking care of ourselves and we're living a balanced life, doing something that's challenging, it is very, vitality, regenerative. You find how many resources you actually have within yourself. Okay, maybe you go deeper. We're in that last 30-second marker. Beautiful. Feet are flexed, at least a little. Okay, slowly come up. Whew, carefully release this one. Find what you need. So it can be windshield wipers. It could be pounding around your legs, your hips. And then we'll go right to Savasana. Nice little 5-minute Savasana. So put something under your knees, something under your head. Get cozy. as your body settles. And you feel that sense of weight dropping down. Just do a little check-in on your feet, your legs, your pelvis, just adjusting anything if you need to. Through your torso, your shoulders and arms, your head. And then find those pockets of habitual tension in your face and soften them. Your awareness move up and down your body a couple times. Up your feet and lower legs, knees, through your hips and through your spine, belly, all the way up your upper body through to the crown of your head. Like a wave, let this washing of awareness, as a wave washes over you, tension releases all the way down and out your feet. And then coordinate that with your breath at your own breathing pace, as though the wave is going up your body from feet to crown on your inhale. And down from crown to feet on your exhale. And you might find you can't go through every part of your body all the way down, so you just sort of scan and find what matches the pace of your breath. It's like an energetic cleansing with this wave of your awareness, this wave of your breath. Let's move to really the movements of the breath. So like we did earlier in class, from your pelvis, pelvic floor, to your chest or your throat, whatever feels like your range of breath, the parts of your body that move when you breathe. And just follow that like a wave. Belly, and it might not always be in order. For example, maybe it feels like your belly expands and then you feel it in your pelvic floor. So intuitively find this wave of your breath. And then add some counting for focus. So the next time you inhale, think the number 11. Exhale 11. Inhale backwards to 10. Exhale 10 and then 9, and just go backwards till you get to 1. If you lose your spot, start again at 11. If you get to 1, start again. The counting. No judgment if you lost your place or never got to 1. And whether it feels better to put your awareness at your pelvis or at your heart, we'll end with an affirmation for this chakra. So you might have your own, or I'll give you a few you can choose from. I am creative. I am open. flow of life. I am open to whatever life has to offer me. Repeat one of those or find your own, and it might feel good to repeat it a few times, 3 times. Beautiful. So if you feel so inclined, you can choose to come up. You're always welcome to stay in Savasana. If you want to come up, wiggle fingers, toes, move your wrists and ankles, stretch. And just take your time to come to a comfortable seat. Feel your pelvis, rock it back and forth. What tilt engages your core enough to sit up tall? You feel rooted in your feet and legs, extending through your crown. Sweep your arms up if you'd like. Gather in what you want to bring with you and a bit of love to share. So where do you want to sprinkle some love sparkles to the earth, to the world? To a friend. And let's add an om to that sparkling. Inhale. Om. Great. Bow. Namaste.